Sorry, my apologies. Welcome to the regular meeting of council for Monday, January 25th in the City Hall Council Chambers. We have a little piece that I want to do first. This isn't going to work with you. Jake told me to do something and it's not going to work because you wouldn't be able to hear me. As mentioned in our previous meeting, in June 2016, so June of this year, Emergency Management BC will lead British Columbia's first full-scale earthquake and tsunami response exercise in the Port Alberni region. This is a great opportunity for our community as a collective and as individuals to become better prepared and more resilient. We've partnered with the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District on this effort because we know that working together means a better response and faster recovery during disasters. Starting tonight, and at the beginning of each regular council meeting, I will be introducing one item to build a basic emergency supply kit. In other words, our grab-and-go bag. This kit, together with a Briggs & Stratton generator from LB Woodshoppers, will be given away to one lucky person before the June exercise. To enter the contest, all you have to do is send a photo of yourself with your kit or grab-and-go bag and submit it through the ACRD contest form on their website. Creating a home emergency kit doesn't need to take long. You may have some of the basic items already, such as a flashlight, battery-operated radio, food, water, blankets. The key is to make sure that they are organized, easy to find, and easy to carry in case you need to evacuate your home. You can find an easy-to-follow checklist on the ACRD website or at Preparedness BC. The first item in the kit that I'm adding tonight is a basic first aid kit. Your first aid kit should contain basic medical supplies such as bandages, tape, scissors, soap, and a breathing mask. These are critical items that could help save you and your loved ones. I encourage everyone to follow along as we build this kit and take time to start preparing your family with the plan and kit. For more information, please contact staff at City Hall or the ACRD office. So the first item for our grab-and-go kit, right there. Don't forget the slippers. Don't forget the crowbar. Don't forget the cash. Okay. Council, we have an agenda. Councillors, any late items? Councillor McClellan, do you have any late items?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have some motions to make under new business and one under the McLean Mill report.
Okay, thank you.
And there's this other late item here, Mr. Mayor, the H6.
Okay, and City Clerk, are there any late items?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, as Councillor McClellan indicated, item H6 from Port Alberni Port Authority.
Thank you. So anything else, Council? So then a motion to approve the agenda as amended is in order.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. We have the minutes of the special meeting held at 5:45 p.m. and a regular council meeting held at 7 p.m. on January the 11th and a special meeting held at 9 a.m. on January 14th, 2016 and a special meeting held at 11 a.m. on January 18th, 2016. Motion to adopt those minutes is in order.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. It's now time for the public input period. This is an opportunity for the public to address council on topics of relevance to City Council. A maximum of 4 speakers for no more than 3 minutes each will be accommodated. Anybody wish to address council? All right. Mr. Meninga, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 things to say. First off, starting with the discussions that I attended last week of the financial plan for Parks and Recreation from Teresa Kingston, as well as Economic Development from Pat Deacon. I do feel that we are heading in a positive direction with regards to waterfront development, but one thing we are lacking are access points to the water. It's one thing to be near it, It's another to actually be able to enter. And in my opinion, that's really what we are lacking here in Port Alberni. We have Canal Beach starting from the south end, and it's the visually appealing aspect of waterfront that is really critical, as opposed to give the impression of, and I realize great improvements have been made, but it still has the impression of industrial wasteland. You have the kiteboarding launch, which is very specific, also very important, but specific to kiteboarding, and it doesn't work well when you try and combine people that are looking out at boats standing on a kiteboard launch. It would be a hazard. You have the Centennial Pier, which is not permitting swimming, not permitting kiteboarding, obviously, because they have the alternate venue for that now. And they do have the slips for the kayak and canoe. However, if you've ever been in a kayak, you would realize that does not work. So publicly accessible, visually appealing access points to the water would hopefully be incorporated into the waterfront plans. The second point I want to make is that I was down in Cobble Hill on the weekend. Actually, yesterday, there was the 10-kilometer run in race, part of the Vancouver Island Race Series, and Bill Collette was there as well. And I want to say what an awesome job he has been doing in promoting the steam train run for May 1st. He was handing out brochures, he had a booth. Very good job at publicizing that event, so I just want to bring that to your attention, Mr. Mayor. Did you participate? Absolutely, I did.
And how did you do? Did you finish?
I was probably about 400. But it was fun. It was fun, and I'm not sore this morning.
And that's not bad if there's only 200 runners.
That's exactly. I will get better, and I want to see you there as well, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. On my hands. Thank you, Malcolm. Okay, we have a special delegation, and it's actually a presentation of the Government Finance Officers Association. I'm pleased to once again present the Canadian Award for Financial Reporting to our Director of Finance, Kathy Rothwell. This award is presented to the City for its annual financial report for the year ended December 31st, 2014. A Canadian Award for Financial Reporting is presented by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada to municipalities whose annual financial reports achieve the highest program standards for Canadian government accounting and financial reporting. The City has received this award every single year for the past 22 years, which is a remarkable achievement. I would like to thank Kathy and the Finance Department team for their continued commitment to achieving the highest possible standards. So Kathy, could you please come forward? All right. Our second item under delegations is Bill Surrey and Thunder in the Valley. Bill, welcome. Yes, that's correct. And
good evening. I'm Bill Surrey. I'm the president of the Alberni Valley Drag Racing Association. All of my executive and a few others are here as well. We came because, as most of you know, the airport now has been terminated. We have been terminated there because of expansion of the airport. So we were offered or told we could have some areas in town, and so we progressed with that. And we, the Alberni Valley Drag Racing Association, would like to proceed with your proposal of having Thunder in the Valley event in the city of Port Alberni on Stamp Avenue. The event dates being August 5th, 6th, and 7th, 2016. Our organization has had our safety crew from Vancouver go over the area, and they feel that we will be able to host the event in a very safe manner with some modifications. These modifications were discussed with City Engineer Guy Sasson and City Street Superintendent Tacoma. We currently in discussions with Catalyst Paper for the use of some of their property for the event. We will be offering free passes to our event to people who live in the immediate vicinity, as we know there will be some interruptions to their ordinary day. We do need to get final approval from the City Council so that we can proceed with our advertising, promoting and planning of this event. We think it is very exciting time in the community and that the economic spin-off will far exceed our present operations at the airport. We look forward to working with the city in making this year's event a huge success. Some of the organizations that benefit from our event: the Alberni Valley Track Club, Port Alberni Toy Run, ADSS Wrestling Club, the Cancer Society, Port Alberni 4x4 Club, North Island College, Sprout Lake Fire Department, Valley Street Rods, Industrial Heritage Society, AV Hospice Society, Port Alberni Charity Golf Classic, Alberni Valley Minor Hockey, and donations to special causes, ALS, tour, hardships funds, etc. Hotels, restaurants, grocery stores, retail stores, automotive stores and shops, gas stations, bed and breakfasts, vendors on site, tourist attractions, and local shops. We are looking into bringing in junior dragsters this year to promote families working together. This is something we've never had before, but there is a fair amount of them on the island, and children from the ages of 6 to 16 can drive these. So if you're a parent or a grandparent, it's an easier way to get into racing, and it's family oriented. On behalf of the Alberni Valley Drag Race Association, we would like to thank you for this opportunity to host our event and be part of our wonderful community. And we have all of our insurances, and we had to present them to Catalyst Paper today as well, because they want to make sure we had to have these insurances in place for the regional district, and they will be in place again for this event if we are able to host it on the streets of Port Alberni. And that is my presentation.
You've got a very interesting picture behind you. Did you want to show that to council so they could have an idea?
This picture is in front of the Catalyst Paper Mill, and this would be our start line, running an 1/8 mile, which would be over before the second entrance of the Catalyst Paper Mill, and approximately where the big steel hydro pump tower is, if any of you remember that. And then we would carry on shutdown area down, and then we would go around the corner and come back into the mill. One lane of Rogers Street would have to be closed off, so to make that all, the pits would be on the mill site, as well as the staging area, spectator parking, vendors that would be in, and everything else would be basically on the mill site.
Councillor Sobey?
Just one question dealing with public safety here. When for the spectators, where would they be standing and what precautions are put in place as into safety barriers?
Okay, spectators would be along the front of this, they'd be inside the fence at the mill here. We have talked about bringing the trees down to a 3-foot level so that we can put all the bleachers on the inside, so that they're behind the fence, and that there'll be down on that side there'll also be a row of no post barriers with a safety road on the inside of them, just in case we have to get ambulance or vehicles in. but the safety barriers are 30 inches high, and these people are approximately 40 feet off. The race safety people that came from Vancouver, like, because we're going to also have barriers down the sidewalk side as well. And when the cars are inside that area, they've got, if they do start to go out, they'll hit them barriers and drop back in. It's not like at the airport where they can run across 100 feet of dirt and pick up speed. So, and it is only an 1/8 mile, which has cut speed down substantially in what would be running at the airport in the 1/4 mile.
So the actual race would occur, racing would occur on the Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday, Sunday, yes.
Yeah.
Time trials on the Saturday and eliminations on the Sunday.
Councillor Alemany?
Just wondering about the median on the way there. Is that
Part of
okay
the
where it
median we
is?
have
or-
to take out because we cannot make it safe. We'd have to put big barriers on either side, and we just could not make that safe. That is the modifications we've talked to Guy and Wilf about. Because we'll have the barriers when we're finished, they can use the barriers as a replacement for the.
Okay. Councillor Paulson?
Maybe you could just talk a little bit about attracting racers and the difference between the 1/8 mile and 1/4 mile course with regards to racers who would be maybe not inclined to race the 1/8 mile as opposed to 1/4 mile, or is
What
that
we-
or is that a problem?
It is a problem, very much so. People that raced in the door slammer class before upwards, and some of our exhibition that raced up to 200 miles an hour, they will not race 1/8 mile. Gary Shelley, who's here, his car normally is an 8-second car. Runs about 5.5 in the 1/8 mile at about 130 miles an hour. He runs normally in 160 plus. So he may be only one of the very few that do race at that. A lot of them won't come, like they won't come from Vancouver for sure, because, it's just too. He will have to throw his parachute out, so, they could explain it more on what, why they won't or why they will, and
We don't need to give away any trade secrets either, though.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering, are there opportunities that you foresee by moving into the city that you wouldn't have if you that you didn't have when you were out at the airport?
we think the advertising end of it will be quite a bit more. We think in some cases the attendance will be quite a bit more because people don't have to go as far. We're just, we're not positive of it, but we certainly see that, we think that there'll be more spectators because it's right close by. And the positives for all that is all the businesses that are in town, where people would not leave the grounds before and to go eat. Now they'll, they may go to the Barclay, they may go to the Clam Bucket, they may go to all them places, and there's a whole lot more going on in the city, than being out at the airport.
And I think we talked about the possibility of a location for camping, right?
Yes,
Which was?
which was the Fall Fairgrounds.
Does that still work for you as far as you're concerned?
It certainly can work. Some of them stay right there on site because they come in their self-contained units, as you know. Mm-hmm. Any of you that have been to the drags at the airport, we turn it into a little city out there. For 3 days, 4 days, they show up. They're lined up, 2 and 3 days in advance. That's our only concern. We're hoping that we can tell them, don't show up until you know, Friday morning, and we start putting them right in and, you know, getting them teched out and things like that, because we don't have a lot of area to park them. They park all down Airport Road, sometimes all the way out to just about out to the highway, so.
Okay. Councillor McClement?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Couple of questions. One, are you going to be looking for a quarter mile somewhere around the city, another place we could move it to so that you could do your quarter?
We'd love to, but again,
Are you looking? That's my question.
we've been looking, and actually a couple of sites have come back at us again. I think the mayor discussed the Link Mill site, and some of the guys went out and measured it again. That won't give us a quarter mile, but it'll certainly give us probably 1,000 feet, I think, with that. 8 miles still? Yeah.
I measured it at half a mile. I guess I was taking
Well,
it too much.
it is, but you need, to be safe, you need at least 1,800 feet with your 668th mile, and then your shutdown area, you need 1,800 feet. That has 2,100 feet there. So, you know, it's again, the same here, that's 2,100 feet all right, but part of it's in turns and stuff. We have 1,900 feet flat straight out, so.
Okay. The other question is this junior dragster show. How does that work?
They've always been 8th mile cars, and what they are is they look like a dragster, like one of your slingshot dragsters, and they've got a little Briggs & Stratton motor in them. They don't go very fast, but they're they go down there, and they only run 8th mile even at the best of times. So it's a lot of fun with the kids, and you know, it is the future. So.
Yeah, but I got a grandson I can put in
And
one.
once you get a driver's license, you wouldn't want to be in one of them anyway.
No. Too scary. You might be in one too.
No, too small for me.
Councillor Minions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I love the concept of having it right in the center of our city. I think in terms of it being an event, that does a lot more for our community than having it out at the airport. So I think there's some huge benefits to it, to that. I'm feeling a little behind because I haven't really, other than hearing about it in the public a bit, I haven't heard anything like from our staff in terms of like liabilities for the city or costs. So I'm wondering if we have any information at this point about how much it will cost, and are we covering those costs as a city to prepare the road for cleanup afterwards, that sort of thing. I don't know how far those discussions have gone yet.
So let's turn that to the city manager. City manager, I know that what Thunder in the Valley is looking for is a positive response from council as soon as possible. Tonight would be just about perfect, but it's I recognize that the city has some work that it has to do. What's the shortest turnaround time that you could imagine for our staff to look at this, given that our staff actually has put a fair amount of work into it already?
Mr. Mayor, you're correct that staff did anticipate the request, and in some cases we're well advanced in terms of our street superintendent and engineer. Director of Finance has been looking at the liability issue as well. Excuse me. So, but we haven't actually been directed yet to do that. So we anticipated that council may want to undertake that. If council was to direct staff to come back with a report, I think we could have that back to you February 9. How would that be?
Well, it's the sooner we can do it, the better. Is it possible? Maybe this is more a question for the city clerk. I'm not sure, but is it possible to give a support in principle pending a report back from staff?
Council, it would be appropriate for council to do that in principle, pending council's consideration of the contents of a staff report. Yes. Okay. It might be that there's a showstopper in terms of liability or something like that. So council might want to direct us to undertake that work, but there's nothing wrong with a support in principle, yeah.
Just one word on the liability, because the regional board also, we used to have 5 million in liability. They made us take 10 million because it's their property. And so that was the one issue. We always took the extra 5 million out because nobody carried a $10 million liability policy. We took the extra 5 million out through Lloyd's of London. So we are covered by both the motorsport insurance as well as, so just so that you know that, and you know, I'm not sure that you know, the city actually needs more insurance, but I couldn't say for sure. I don't.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. Councillor McClellan?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd make the motion that we approve this in principle and look for finalizing it at the next meeting.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
And just on that, Mr. Mayor, this has always been a good economic generator for our town. I know it's almost one weekend shot in the arm with some work on either side and throughout some more of the year, but it's still good for the town, and I think we should do everything we can to keep it here.
Okay, Councillor Minions?
Thank you. I agree it's a fantastic thing for the town, but maybe other people have more information than I do. Do we have an idea of what the costs are? I have no idea at this point, and giving approval in principle is going to get you guys started, and we don't even have any information to determine if this is something we really support or not. So, I mean, I don't want the Drag Race Association to go out and start spending money advertising this based on our approval in principle when we don't even have any information yet. So I would prefer to wait the 2 weeks and at least get, you know, I'm sure there are costs associated with it, so get the numbers unless somebody else has more information to provide.
I think it's possible city engineer has some of those numbers, but he might want to finalize things. I think he's pretty close to being able to finalize, so I'd probably by the 9th, it wouldn't be tough for him to come back with the numbers.
One of the issues I know we were having was the barriers, and we have 65 of them out at the airport that belong to us as the Drag Race Association.
Yeah.
And we also we can borrow 65 more from the Highways Department. So we knew that was one thing Guy had talked to us about and Wilf had talked to us about. So
right.
We were able to get them figures for them.
And I think there's a couple of other issues. One would maybe grinding down some pavement or some sidewalk. And there will be some cost involved in removing part of the median.
Yes.
But my last discussion with the city engineer was that wasn't a major cost for the city, but I still think we're looking for him to actually identify for us what those costs would be. So, any other comment, Council? Okay, but then Councillor Paulson?
I don't have any problem with the motion as it reads. I mean, it is pending a report from staff, so we'll have one more opportunity to look at it. But I think we're looking at direction to move forward with staff to bring that report back to us. So, thank you.
Okay, anything else, Council? Okay, well then Councillor Minions.
Just want to clarify, is the motion is not for a staff report, but to approve it in principle?
The motion was improved in principle pending on the staff report.
Okay.
I think that's what I said, right? Yeah, see?
She's almost always right.
Almost always.
So on the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
So I hope that helps you a little bit. Our next meeting is February the 9th because the 8th is Family Day, and so that's a statutory holiday. Okay, thank you. Our council, our next delegation is from the Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce. I believe I see Bill Collette in the audience here. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I do have a PowerPoint there, but I think I've got 10 minutes here, and I don't want to exceed that time. I think last time I did, so I'll be very careful here today. My purpose today is to talk to you about this Triconic Challenge and about the opportunities it presents for the City of Port Alberni and the whole region. Myself and Stephanie Stevens were recently at a grant writing workshop, a 2-day course that was very, very good. And through that course, there was 17 people there, and each of us got to kind of experiment with our own projects that are on the agenda. And so Stephanie and I worked closely on this one. And while we are very confident and excited about our project, and I should say that the other 15 people there were also very excited about it. And in fact, one of them, who's a well-known local volunteer, he made the comment, and I quote, "This event has the makings of one that will change the face of Port Alberni as we know it today." So that's what he said after hearing about what we were proposing. So it got us both thinking that, wow, this is a big opportunity for us, and we don't want to lose that opportunity through one word placed in the wrong spot on our grant application. So really what we're here today to do is to see if council would support us contracting out a local grant writer, professional grant writer. And I think on my letter, I suggested that it would be an approximate cost of up to $3,000. But in fact, we've talked to a local woman, the young lady that produced the vital signs report here for the city, which I think you'll all agree she did a wonderful job. And we would like to contract her to do this grant application for us. And her cost would be approximately $2,000, covering a week of work. So that's really the gist of it, but I'll just quickly go through my presentation here. I'll just get to the end, if I can find how to do this again. There we go. So as you know, it's basically a 4-day event covering a triathlon type format, swim on the lake, a bike race out to Bamfield, which is going to be quite the challenge, and then a run against a steam train. So those are the 3 themes, and a significant First Nations component to the event as well. And as we evolve the event, we realize that the First Nations component is going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, which is all great. But I want to bring your attention to the last 3 slides that really kind of emphasize why we need to get this grant going. There's so many things through this program that we can expose here in Port Alberni. First of all, our First Nation cultural experiences will be very evident because we'll have opening and closing ceremonies, welcoming ceremonies, closing ceremonies by the First Nations. We'll be able to showcase the multiplex. That's where we'll start things off on Friday, June 30th, 2017. Sprout Lake will be showcased. That's where the swim will be, which means the petroglyphs will be seen. We'll have people swimming alongside the petroglyphs. Harbor Key will be a major focus of over the 4 days, in particular Canada Day itself, and also all 3 days of the actual Triconic Challenge portion, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of July. The Francis Barclay will be a major part of the event. The First Nations fisheries along the Somas River, again, it's during sockeye season, so we have significant opportunity to showcase that and be very proud of it. Our kite surfing would be very obvious on the inlet. Again, later day when the Francis Barclay comes back on the 2nd of July for the bike race part, we would hope that our friends at the kiteboarding would be out on the water showcasing that. China Creek Marina and Campground would be a major focus. Part of the bike race would go there, and they want to have a big presence. Obviously, Sprout Lake Provincial Campground. Bamfield's a big part of it. Pachina Bay, Anakla. The Martin Mars could very well be here, and we hope it will be. And if it is, we're going to do our best to get it on the water. The steam train, of course. Our friends here at Bill Surrey, we want to talk to Bill about having a classic car show out at McLean Mill. We expect to have the speeder in operation for that. Of course, the Alberni Inlet itself will be showcased. Centennial Pier, sockeye season I mentioned before, all the boats out there. and McLean Mill. So this event ties everything together. And so really our ask here of council is to consider providing us with up to $2,000 to properly fund a professional grant application that Stephanie and I would work with her on this. And we think it stands the best chance of securing funds, which, by the way, could be in the $400,000 to $500,000 range. We're looking at a significant amount of money through Canada 150. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Council? Councilor McClement?
Yeah, you answered a couple of them with your last sentence, the question I was sitting here with. One, how much are we going to get? And you say $400,000. So that caught my attention. I hope you can get that.
I'm shooting from the hip because we have to do a budget yet, but we are basing it on the BC Winter Games. Dwayne Parfit's helping us out, and he's telling us that we are looking those kind of dollars.
Okay. The other question is so that's a federal grant, is it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. And this $3,000, this is just for the one grant application? Because you were talking about professional grant going in, and for everything, or what are we talking about?
What it would be is, first of all, I'm going to correct the 3,000 to 2,000. The original.
We're going in the right direction.
Yep, we are. And the original thought was the actual presenter of the course that Stephanie and I were on. The woman is very, very good, very skilled, very successful. But then we realized that the young lady locally here, she has a real good connection. Obviously, she knows Port Alberni as well as anybody. Her husband is big in the biking community. That's very beneficial. He works for the city of Port Alberni, and she's cheaper. So $2,000 is the ask.
No, I don't know if that's a
and
compliment or not.
Well, yeah, that's probably see, there you go, wrong choice of words, right? So hence the need to invite somebody more professional. But the goal, Councillor McClement, would be this grant application. This is the one we're focusing on. So it's a single $2,000 ask.
Okay, and you've also asked the regional district, I understand. Is this jointly with us, or how's that work?
We haven't asked regional district for funding. We've asked regional district and many others. The city is included as part of this tonight. Was going to wrap that up. We need letters of support, and so we've asked all the local First Nation communities already. I've presented to all of them. We've asked the community of Bamfield. I've presented to them a week ago, and so we've asked the ACRD for that as well.
Anything else, Council? Councillor Paulson?
Just a quick question of staff. Is this the kind of funding that we could approach community investment program on? Maybe?
Sorry, Councillor Paulson, I'd suggest we might want to consider directing this to economic development, to the manager of economic development for consideration.
Could do. Yeah, just looking at funding.
So if you want to make that as a motion, I think that'd be entirely appropriate.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approach the economic development manager for funding for the grant writer wordsmithing. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Especially now that we
Whatever that motion was, it sounded good.
Yeah.
And I do have a question on it. Just one other. What is this $400,000 going to get us besides the race?
Well, again, please don't quote me on the 400,000. I mean, I'm shooting from the hip. I'm not an expert in it. We know it'll be a significant amount of money, but a call I was on today was to the timing people that Malcolm referenced, the run that we were both on yesterday, and it taught me very quickly that we need a lot of professional help, and that didn't sound right either, but.
You're batting 100.
Yes, I'm batting 100, but professional help in terms of ensuring that we have our athletes safe. So we need high-end technology for this event, and that's I was going to say not cheap, but that's not inexpensive. So
you said it clear.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to clarify the motion. Are we referring it to the Economic Development Manager for consideration, or are we requesting it from him?
I believe we're referring, Councillor Paulson, we're referring. for consideration. He'll come back to us, and then we can make a decision at our next meeting. Okay? Councillor Minions?
Thank you. I'm just wondering if there's a time frame, like are you applying for a specific grant that you need to get started working on soon, or is it acceptable to wait a few weeks to hear?
Well, we are working on it right now. The way the grant application works, our understanding is that every 3 months they close it off and they put those grants out and they start approving them or rejecting them. We will miss the January 31st deadline, so our grant will be in the next 3-month quarter. However, we would like to see it complete or close to completion by the end of February, just to make sure it's there and done properly.
And council, just so you know, if we vote on this and approve it, the motion will get to Mr. Deacon right away, and then he can begin his consideration right away. And then he can let us know at our next meeting what he's determined. So we may be able to get to you before January 31st. So. Mind you, I guess Maggie wouldn't be able to write that quickly, would she?
Well, we'd like to give her a week. Yeah, no, we can't do it for the end of this month. No. No.
All right, we've got lots of time in that case.
There you go. Good.
Okay, council, it has been seconded. Councillor Paulson.
Just one other thing, Bill. As you know, that's going to be a big weekend for celebration in Port Alberni. So I would hope that we can work together on scheduling, and I see this as a great event for the Canada 150, but also for the 50th anniversary of the amalgamation of the Albernis.
Yeah.
And I would hope that we can encapsulate and wrap other events, family events and community events around that.
Yeah.
And having said that, anybody in the audience that might be interested in helping on the celebration committee, come and see me.
Very good. We'll definitely need lots of help.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or if you know someone that would be good at it.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right, Councillor McClellan.
Just a question, I guess to yourself, Mr. Mayor. Can this be brought up at our next budget meeting and put in what we're talking about on whatever, the Thursday, whatever day it is?
It can, but I don't think Mr. Deacon won't need to have direction of council in order to do that. So on the motion, council, all those in favor? Carried. Mr. Collette, since, you were talked about, you kept sort of sometimes putting your foot in your mouth a little bit. I hope you washed your feet before you came.
Oh, I did.
Thank you very much. Good presentation.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Staff reports. For accounts, we have a motion, Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the certification of the Director of Finance dated January 25, 2016 be received, and checks numbering 133,826 to 133,997 inclusive, and payment of accounts totaling $902,000, $2,578.07 be approved.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Council, we have a status report. Are there questions related to the status report? If not, I have a few. City Manager, number 5, not to put you on the spot, but has the meeting happened? Has there a date been determined? Number 5
Mr.
was
Mayor.
the report about the
Synopsis and options for consideration Alberni Valley paving operations at Fall Fairgrounds. I'm not aware, Mr. Mayor, if that's been done or not. I can follow up for next meeting.
Okay, it says there was a meeting held on November 12th, so that's just why I was checking. And then in number 9, says report about the feasibility of the Sprout business development concept. Just want to know, is there a date yet when there's going to be a report back to council?
And again, I'm not familiar with the details. I'll talk to the Economic Development Manager, and he will let us know.
All my questions are going to put you on the spot in that case. So
2
let's
for
keep
2,
going. Number 13, the Auditor General recommended the establishment of a committee to provide a stronger relationship between the officer in charge and the city. What's the status of that particular recommendation?
Mr. Mayor, I might get half off here. I did meet, had a conversation today with the OIC on this topic. I'm seeing number 13 says arrange a meeting between council staff and OIC for March. And the OIC and I discussed today the preparation of a report for council's consideration on that topic.
Okay, thank you. It's because that's going to be important as we move forward with his replacement.
Yes.
And not that I want him to go, but I just know it's in the works, okay? And number 14 there, arrange a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, Tourism, ACRD about external marketing, and I'm wondering if that meeting has happened yet.
And again, I'm not familiar. I will check on that and get back to you.
And sorry, but I'm only halfway through. Number 18 is the zoning to implement report amendment to the zoning bylaw to restrict liquor sales in grocery stores. City planner, where are we at with this issue? It's because this particular one preceded the dispensary discussion and seems to have fallen behind it.
Yeah, certainly, Mr. Mayor, I have not had a chance to get to this. There are a few on my list, all kind of rated medium. There's this one, the secondary suites, carriage houses, the drone. I think there was one that was just added last time. If council has a priority on one of those, I could get to though. I would take that as the next. One of my reports to get to. I was thinking of that the secondary suite ones might have a higher priority, but I would take direction from council. If council would like me to bring the liquor store and the liquor and grocery stores forward first, I would certainly do that.
You mean we could have been discussing this instead of discussing marijuana dispensaries? I'll remember
Not giving
this.
council's direction, no.
Okay, so then in absence of direction, let's give you some direction. Council, how do you feel in terms of secondary suites versus zoning for liquor? Any sense of which is more important? Councillor Alberni.
I'll just speak for myself, I guess, but I've gotten a lot more action about secondary suites in the past little while than I've ever heard about grocery stores and the liquor issue, so I go for secondary suites.
Okay, Councillor Minions, I see you nodding your head. You agree with that? I know that's been my case as well. I had a couple of things about the liquor zoning, but Councillor McClement?
Yeah, my understanding is that there was only one grocery store in Port Alberni, in fact on the whole Vancouver Island at one point, and it was here, that would even come under the provincial regulations. So I don't think it's that heavy a thing for us, and so secondary suites would be my tip.
Okay, so does that help you, City Planner?
Thank you. That is very helpful, yes.
All right. City Manager, number 20, preparing the RFP for Clutha Haven Marina Commercial Development. I think we've already done that. In fact, the ads are up, so would it now be appropriate to take this off the status report?
Mr. Mayor, I'll refer to the clerk on that. She seems to know the answer.
Mr. Mayor, the RFP closes at the end of February, so I would assume we would take it off once it's done.
Okay, thank you. And number 24, prepare and place appropriate signage either at the end of Scott Kenny Trail. Where are we at with the development of that signage?
Mr. Mayor, I'll refer to the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Heritage.
And I'll check with the parks operation tomorrow and let you know.
Okay, thank you. Number 25, policy about utilizing wood from the community forest mill at McLean Mill when and where feasible for construction projects. I think we passed a motion on that. Do we
Yes,
dare
Mr.
take
Mayor,
it
that
off?
one, that one can come off.
Okay.
Yes.
And number 28th, this is my last one. The formation of a seniors housing stakeholders initiative to direct resources at provincial, federal, municipal levels for seniors housing projects. I think we're going to be dealing with this later in this meeting, right?
There is a letter on this agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we deal with it, then would it come off this status report?
That would depend on council's direction, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. I just, I wanted to check. I want to know where these things are. Okay, anything else, council, on the status report? In that case, a motion to receive the current status report, including the answers, responses we got.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Managers' monthly reports from the RCMP detachment. The inspector's here. Inspector Richards, welcome. I'll be much nicer to you than I was to the city manager.
That's good, thanks. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you use the policing reports for both November and December, you'll see that for 2015, the greatest increase that we saw was in property crime, about a 20% increase over 2014, mainly centering on thefts of various kinds. On a fairly consistent basis that we've seen, approximately 50% of our victim service referrals have been for files involving violence within relationships. And it's an unfortunate statistic, but it's one that is the truth. It's one that we've seen on a regular basis. So it's one of our targets, and one of the focuses on the detachment is that violence in the relationships. December marked the three-quarter mark for the RCMP and our policing priorities. I just want to do a quick recap on the policing priorities that we set for the fiscal year. First one was crime reduction, and obviously to reduce the impact and prevalence of crime in our community. And one of the strategies was to complete 1,200 judicial release compliance checks. As of December, three-quarters of the way, we have 885, so just about right on target. Mental health, again, it's increasing awareness and decrease the impact of mental health and calls for service. And this is all about us building relationships with our external partners. Our goal was 2. We've met that already. We've got 2 new strategies in place and trying to connect people with services. Traffic, increasing road safety, but through focus on both provincial and federal offenses. It's primarily impaired driving. Our provincial traffic was to increase by 8%. We're pretty much right on par for that. And lastly was increase our impaired driving by 10%. We're slightly below where I would hope to be. Hopefully that's a sign people are getting the message and not us detecting them, but this one that's hard to tell. Lastly was visibility and engagement, and that's all about engaging with the community. Our goal was to complete 460 proactive patrols in the first 8 months or thereabouts, 9 months. 781 completed. We're far in advance of that. Lastly is to attend 24 community events, and we completed 21. So we're right on target for where we wanted to be on all those. I guess information is maybe timely, was brought up here again tonight. The January 11th council meeting, there was a letter from the Minister of Justice responding to the mayor on some questions, and I think I can provide some additional information on those questions. Try not to answer them fully tonight, but I think I can shed a little bit of light on them. The first was about the budgeting. You all received my 5-year forecast. We put that out every year, as well as there's a monthly recap from the RCMP on budgeting. Always interested in feedback on not only the format, but where we are. Secondly is my replacement. Upon my notification of a transfer, I contacted the city manager, and that process is in place. The city does have a input on the replacement and the process, and that was the case for myself and my predecessor. I'm assuming it'll be the same going forward. Last request was about foot patrols, and that's part of our crime reduction strategy and has been for a number of years. And that is included in the proactive patrols that we've done. So in the first 9 months of our policing priority, we've completed 750 foot patrols in the community. So just to give you an idea about some of the things that we are doing at the office, they may be buried in some of the reports, but just to provide a bit more information and where we are. If you have any questions, I'm glad to take those.
Councillor McClement?
Yeah, thank you very much. And just referring back to your budget presentation, when you were asking for another clerical position or some, I don't hope I'm using the right word, I get in trouble for this sometimes. I was wondering if you could provide to council not just the number of people that work for you, but what they do and what the jobs are and how this would help you.
Yeah, that'd be my pleasure. I guess I could do it one of two ways. I can quickly do a rundown tonight, or I can provide you a written report that gives you an opportunity to get a little bit more understanding of what each of those positions do and sort of have it in front of you so you can refer to it. I defer to yourselves as to what you prefer.
I think, to me, a written report, maybe other councillors would be happy with a quick verbal, I don't know.
No, I would agree with the written report, Mr. Mayor. There's a lot of facts behind job descriptions and so forth that will help us when it comes to budget time.
Okay, thank you. Inspector Richards, I noticed one of your areas of concern was thefts, but I also noticed in your statistics that the thefts is decreasing each year. And in 2014, if I'm reading it correctly, it says the number of thefts was 813, and in 2015, looks like the thefts was 734.
There's always a little bit of a correction, and you'll see that in the next report, but when I look at it's not just depends on what you consider a theft. Break and enter can be a theft. That's not counted in those thefts. But overall, our property crime, which is including thefts, thefts was our major driver. Thefts from vehicles, thefts from property. That did go up 20%. Our property crimes, which is the mischiefs, the frauds, that is our greatest increase, not only unfortunately in Port Alberni, but we're seeing that across the province. That's one of the largest drivers of increase in crime.
So what's the reason for that? Is it are they related to the economy? Or?
There's lots of reasons. As I said, good times or sort of boom times and bust times.
Yeah.
We see large increases of crime. So economy plays a part of that. Substance abuse plays a part of that. Mental health plays a part. There are lots of different factors that go in. It's not a simple one factor is another one. So the biggest impact that the community has is starting with ourselves as far as protecting our own property and taking those steps to try and prevent crime from taking place in the first place, and then start with that, and hopefully some of the other programs and activities that we have in place will have an impact. We've made a number of arrests over the last month, specifically all on property crimes, thefts from vehicles, break and enters, so hopefully that'll have an impact in some of those numbers as well.
Does it sometimes revolve around particular individuals, or is it generalized situation of opportunity, or?
We definitely have, and we're not alone in what we refer as sort of our prolific people. They're a small number of people that are very active in committing crime. They account for a majority of our crimes. So we have a number of those in our community. Our goal obviously is to get them to abide by the law. That's one of our strategies in place, our crime reduction strategies, as you've seen over the years. Not only our calls for service, but our crime rates have been steadily dropping over the last almost a decade now. So some of those strategies that we're having are having an effect, but you'll also notice over the last few years we've sort of hit just a status, whether it's, and that's the next step for us, is try to keep moving those numbers downwards.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Council? Councillor Sobey, do you want to move receipt of the report?
I'll make that motion that the monthly report from the RSMP providing information on current departmental operations be received.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Inspector Richards. Economic Development. Council, we have a report before us from Economic Development. Mr. Deacon is not here today, but there is a very comprehensive report. If you require clarification on anything, I'm sure City Manager will be happy to clarify it for you. Any questions, Council? Then Councillor Paulson, you want to make the movement? Do you want to make the motion to receive this report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the monthly report from the Economic Development Manager providing information about current departmental operations be received.
Second, Mr. Mayor, and just one comment.
Yes.
I just note that under his initiatives in progress, there's Alberni Valley Regional Airport runway expansion, and I understand he's doing a good job on that and making it come forward.
He is doing an excellent job, working a lot of hours on that one. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we move into bylaws. City Clerk, could you give us a quick summary of tonight's public hearing report, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There was a public hearing heard this evening, January 25th at 5 p.m. in council chambers for council to hear representation relative to proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw. Approximately 38 members of the public were in attendance. The applicant, in this case, the City of Port Alberni, is applying to amend the zoning bylaw to include municipal regulations for the operation of medical marijuana dispensaries within the City of Port Alberni. The city planner presented his background report. There was one piece of correspondence attached to the agenda from Elaine McLeod opposing medical marijuana dispensaries in the community. Approximately 22 individuals provided input to council, both for and against the issue. The city planner responded to questions from the public and from council. There were two pieces of late correspondence which will form part of the record. One from Stacey Manson and the other from Tusaw Law Corporation, acting for West Coast Hemp. The public hearing concluded at 6:15 p.m. and before council at this time, council may consider third reading of zoning text amendment T7 marijuana dispensary regulations, bylaw number 4893, and if council wishes, can consider adoption as well.
Thank you, City Clerk. Councillor Alamany, do you want to make that motion for receipt?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that the verbal report of the public hearing held January 25, 2016 regarding bylaw number 4893 be received.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Councillor Alamany, do you want to make the motion on the zoning text amendment?
Yes, that zoning text amendment T7 marijuana dispensary regulations, bylaw number 4893 be read a third time.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any comment, Council? Councillor Sauvé?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess this is my last kick at the can, try and convince my council about the situation that we've been unfairly put in. I truly feel it was unfair for being placed in a position, putting council and staff in a position to be in a civil disobedience and not respecting our federal law. Our federal government ministers and so forth after the election are working on this as we speak. It's a long process. There's a reason why it's a long process, because there's a lot of elements that has to be followed, such as health issues, such how we're going to regulate it, and so forth. I don't find this is a position for the city to be doing that. I find that the city endorsing this, and before the third bylaw is being read, considers that we're putting ourselves in I feel, in a position that we might be considering to a liability issue for licensing these illegal dispensaries. As for health reasons, we all know that we don't know where these dispensaries are being supplied or by whom, since under the current laws, has spoken about the public hearing, that any governmental representative producer of such of marijuana cannot legally furbish a storefront store. So I just want to remind that to council. And hopefully council will see the issues of liability that might put our city and our taxpayers. Keeping that in mind, before we read the third and final vote on this bylaw, I would like the vote to be recorded, Mrs. City Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sauvé. Councillor Minions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with a lot of what Councillor Sauvé has said. This is an unfortunate situation for us as a municipal city council to have to be dealing with, but it's a situation that a lot of communities have to deal with, and so at this point we're just doing the best we can. One thing I would like to note, because it was brought up at the public hearing and again tonight, is we have received a legal opinion on this. So I mean, I know that, you know, it's never going to cover absolutely every possibility, but just for the public to know, you know, we are not doing this just on our own recommendations. We have received legal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Alberni, then Councillor McClellan.
I just actually had one question that came up for me after I heard the stuff from the public hearing, and that's around bylaw enforcement and how we might actually be able to enforce it with the resources that we have. So really the question is, if we pass this bylaw and the regulations come into force, there's going to be things that are set into motion. Do we have the resources in the bylaw enforcement office to be able to expeditiously pursue this kind of thing?
If council approves these, then we will begin the process of processing the business license applications we have. And once we've gone through that process, if current dispensaries are open without a license, we would begin bylaw enforcement action. As council is well aware, we have one bylaw enforcement officer who has a lot of files on his desk. We will do our best. The issue will be that, as I stated at the public hearing, we would certainly inform the dispensary about that they're not operating in amongst our bylaws. We could then issue tickets. If that fails to occur, our next recourse would be to try and go through the courts for an injunction.
If I may add, I think that if this goes through, given the presentations we've seen from the city planner in the budget last week, we might have to seriously consider his request for an assistant position in the bylaw enforcement if we're serious about actually, going through and trying to cut down the number of dispensaries that are there and actually making that happen.
Thank you. Anybody else, Council? Councillor McClellan, then Councillor Paulson.
Yeah, I guess right now we're talking about the zoning bylaw, not the business license bylaw, correct?
Correct.
I haven't missed something here. Okay, listening to the public and listening to the concerns, it seemed to be a concern very generally that we've got a whole lot of these things there and they're popping up all over, and we've got to get a handle on it somehow. We may not have the perfect solution here. In fact, quite likely we don't. But we've got to do something, and I think that, like Councillor Minion said, what we're doing is trying to get a control, trying to stop something that is happening because nobody else is stopping it. I'm not blaming the RCMP for not going to close them all down. They need a lot more people to do something like that and then probably get to court and have it chucked on them. So I'm hoping that when we get to our fine system that we can get a control. We've already voted on first come, first served to be looked at to getting a business license. Anybody inside the kilometer, they got to move and or just close down. So maybe a kilometer is too close. Maybe 300 meters is too close. Maybe we'll have to make some amendments soon. But let's give it a try. Thank you. And I'll talk to you about the fines later.
Councillor Paulson.
Once again, one last chance for my tirade. I've really struggled with this over the last months and days and sleepless nights, and it does go against me. I totally understand that it is illegal, period. It's illegal. I've stated this before, I'm really upset with the federal government, the provincial government. I feel like it's being downloaded onto municipalities and regional districts to deal with. I'm still really frustrated with that. We have a provincial government that has been issuing them charitable status. And it has found a loophole through business licensing, and we're trying to close that loophole. Personally, I feel like I'm sitting there with my finger in the broken dam, trying to keep the thing from breaking down and running wild. And I feel that's what's going on right now. If we don't do something, at least to mitigate, to limit the number that's going on in our community, we're doing nothing. Uncontrolled and unregulated, there's going to be 12, 14, 16, 18 of them before we know it. When I look at our zoning map, and Scott, you did a great job of showing us the diameter and stuff, I think we can limit it to 2 or 3 or 4 max in the community through the bylaw. Like I say, I feel like I'm the guy with the finger in the dike. It's really frustrating. I'm sorry, I've mentioned this to all the councillors before, how frustrated I am, but to be seen to do nothing, I think is an error. Probably we're making an error in saying we're going to issue business licenses, but at least we can limit it to 2 or 3 or 4. So, thanks for listening.
Okay. Anything else, council? Well, seeing nobody else's hand, I'll have my say. I want to congratulate council for a consistently principled approach to this. I think people come to it from various perspectives, and we've heard various perspectives from each of us, as well as from the public this evening. My perspective has not changed. This is completely beyond the scope of what council should be involved in. This is not part of our core business. By acting this way, we are accepting responsibility that's being downloaded onto us by both the federal and the provincial government. Instead, we should be throwing it back at them and saying, look, we can't do this. This is your responsibility, and you need to be doing something about it. And once you've done something, then we can respond to it. But to be responding to it now, in advance of this, I completely understand, council, that we're trying to regulate the impossible. I understand that. But I also understand, you need to understand from my perspective, my principle is that we get involved in those areas which are our business. Regulating an illegal activity is not our business. So I'm sorry, I can't support it. I support your principle, I support the approach, I support all of that, and I think this has been a great debate. Doesn't change my mind. So we've been asked for a recorded vote, and I'll call the vote now. We'll start. Councillor Washington? In favor. Councillor Alemany?
In favor.
Councillor Minions?
In favor.
Councillor Paulson?
Grudgingly in favor.
Councillor Sauvé?
Against.
Councillor McClement?
In favor.
And I'm opposed. So the motion has passed. Sorry, to be read a third time has passed. And then Councillor Alemany for the next one?
Yes, that zoning text amendment T7 marijuana dispensary regulations bylaw number 4893 be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and numbered 4893.
Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder?
Second. Why is everybody looking at him?
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And business license bylaw amendment to finish this off, Councillor Alemany.
That business license bylaw amendment number 4, bylaw number 4894, be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and numbered 4894.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor?
Just if I could have a comment on this one, a question. During the public hearing to the planner, I asked a question about how we can collect these fines, and I was kind of disappointed to hear that we couldn't just, if people don't pay it, put excuse me, put them on property tax. Could you maybe explain our circumstances here?
I would need to check the legislative ability, but there's only certain things that we're allowed to put on property taxes. I do not believe tickets are one of them.
Well, I think if the provincial government is going to download and give these guys a so-called nonprofit status, they could at least let us collect our fines. But maybe we'll have to be some lobbying on that because, you know, where I'm going with this, if we have a bylaw that says marijuana dispensaries or whatever you want to call them can only be in this place and that place, somebody's popping it out of their basement, that's against the bylaw, and we should be able to fine them a whole bunch. So maybe we could find out about that, please.
Certainly.
And I think the fine should go up pretty high and could be entertaining. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion? Oh, sorry, Councillor Alberni, I just didn't see your hand.
That's okay. I just wanted to actually say, because it has been a long process, I want to thank the city planner for all of his work that he has done and his department has done, because it has not been easy.
City planner, we have tested your patience and you have withstood it. Thank you. Can I now call for the vote? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We still have a few minutes, so let's get number H, or letter H done, correspondence for action. From the Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce, we have a letter dated January the 8th, 2016 from the Civic Affairs Committee providing considerations and recommendations regarding alternative routes for industrial truck traffic through the city. Councillor Minions, are you prepared to make that motion?
That the letter dated January 8th, 2016 from the Civic Affairs Committee providing considerations and recommendations regarding alternative routes for industrial truck traffic through the city be received and referred to the city engineer.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And from the Alberni Valley Community Stakeholders Initiative to End Homelessness, a letter dated January the 4th, 2016, responding to the Seniors Advisory Committee's recommendation for the formation of a committee to address seniors' housing and proposing that this work be referred to their organization. Councillor Sauvé, are you prepared to make that motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that the letter dated January 4, 2016, responding to the Seniors Advisory Committee recommendations for the formation of a committee to address seniors' housing and proposing that this work be referred to the organization, be received and referred to staff for consideration with December 14, 2015 motion regarding the formation of a senior housing initiative.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a comment.
You want to comment?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Just on that, since I sit on the Community Stakeholders Initiative to End Homelessness, we just finished our updated report. It's called Still at Home in Port Alberni, Housing the Homelessness, or Housing the Homeless. So I think what we'll find is there are many opportunities to see similarities between the approaches for addressing homelessness issues and addressing seniors housing issues, both in that report and I hope to see it come through in the staff report as well. So I do think there are definitely ways we can do that, and I know that the committee is committed to seniors housing as well as the homelessness issue, and would benefit from having more representation from those who might be more in the seniors field.
And are they discussing connecting with BC Housing in order to assist?
Certainly, yeah. That's all part of the
okay.
All part of it. And I'll send that report out to staff, and they'll be able to distribute it to council.
Thank you, Councillor Alberni. Councillor Sauvé?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only concern I have is the fact that this committee is, that the Senior Advisory Committee it's not only for homelessness, but it's also for caregiving and special different level of care, which doesn't really have to do with the community of homelessness. It's specific to senior care. So, like I said, I confer that I'll let staff do their report and all that, but any final decision that's been made, I would like to be going through as a response from the advisory committee for the seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. So on the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Next item is from the City of Nanaimo and Nanaimo Port Authority, a letter dated January the 11th, 2016, requesting a meeting with council to discuss their request for proposals to secure a passenger-only ferry service between Nanaimo and downtown Vancouver. We have a specific motion related to this. Councillor Paulson, are you prepared to make that motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the letter dated January 11th, 2016, requesting a meeting with council to discuss their request for proposals to secure a passenger-only ferry service between Nanaimo and downtown Vancouver, be received and referred to the Administrative Assistant Office Manager for coordination of a suitable meeting date.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. And from the Golden Oldies Car Club, we have an email dated January 14th, 2016, requesting the use of city streets for a one-day closure of 3rd Avenue from Argyle Street to Marr Street for the 42nd Annual Show and Shine Car Show on July 2nd, 2016, from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Councillor McClement, are you prepared to make that motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll make this motion that the email dated January 14, 2016 from the Golden Oldies Car Club requesting the use of city streets for one-day closure of 3rd from Argyle to Marr for the 42nd Annual Show and Shine event on July the 2nd, 2016 from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. be received and council concur the request subject to notification of emergency services, consultation with all affected businesses to minimize potential conflict and traffic concerns and provision of standard liability insurance.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion? Councillor McClement?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if this was the same club that was on 3rd Avenue last year when we were there for judging cars and so on. You're trying to tell me something, but that's okay. But I just noticed that it was a Saturday and there were some businesses, particularly a restaurant or two, that weren't open during the time, and people had gone and tried to get in to get something to eat, and people weren't there. So I would just comment to the businesses that there's people there wanting to spend money, and probably good to open maybe an extra couple hours.
Okay. Thank you. We've had it seconded, right? Yes, we have. On the motion, all those in favor? Carried. And from Roland Smith, we have a letter dated January the 20th, 2016, questioning the recent changes with respect to senior management personnel and requesting clarification regarding the obligations of the acting city manager / fire chief. Councillor Washington, are you prepared to make that motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that the letter dated January 20, 2016 from Roland Smith, questioning the recent changes with senior management personnel and regarding clarification regarding the obligations of acting city manager, fire chief, be received.
Is there a seconder? Second, Mr. Mayor. All those in favor? Carried. And council, this is an appropriate time for me to announce that at our next council meeting, February the 9th, we will be in a position to release to the public the Rogers report on a review of city management. And the last item, I believe, is an item, we have a letter from Zoran Knizovic, who is the president and CEO of the Port Authority. And he says, as per our discussion this morning, I have an outline for PAPA's ask, the Port Alberni Port Authority's ask from the city in regards to the development at the SOMAS lands. Port Authority is asking the city of Port Alberni to contribute $300,000 towards construction of the boardwalk and sewer line at SOMAS lands. The Port Alberni Port Authority will submit this expense under ICE-T funding and expect with confidence to have a refund of about 25%. City manager, would you be able to expand on that rather brief summary?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council will recall that the last regular meeting of council, the Port Authority was a delegation. They outlined this project. It's a redesign, expansion of the, a refit, if you like, of the Fisherman's Wharf's marina, and in excess of $2.5 million, I'm told, that project. Part of that project is they purchased lands, they're referring to as the SOMAS lands. It's a strip of shoreline from Western Forest Products. The Port Authority would like the city to build a boardwalk in order to access new floats out there and possibly even a filling station, a marine filling station. And they've asked the city to contribute $300,000 towards building that boardwalk and putting an underground sewer line underneath that. If council wishes to consider that, we've done some review of our available funding. The money is not eligible for gas tax funding because it's not on city lands, for one. We could access funds that are in the Capital Works Reserve Fund, and that $300,000 could be paid for from that fund this year. If council chose to take this project on and wanted to fund it from the Land Sale Reserve Fund, we could do that, but then in that case we would have to either cancel or postpone until next year all projects in that fund for 2016 that are currently identified in the draft 5-year plan.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, was the Port Authority or was the city actually considering that our staff would do the work? Was that the ask?
Initially, that was the discussion, and on the advice of the city's engineer, the ask has been refined to a cash payment, if you like. The city engineer felt that it would be problematic to undertake a project for which the city didn't own the land, wasn't our overall project, and we haven't done the engineering or received quotes on that. So the engineer recommended that if council wants to undertake this, that you consider passing the funds on to the Port Authority. They can be responsible for the project. And the Port Authority tells us that they will submit this project to ICE-T, and as we're hearing, there's a, what was the term? Expect with confidence to have a refund of about 25%.
And nor do we have the available staff or expertise for that sort of project, right?
We don't have the expertise in that area, and yeah, to be honest, we'd have to take them off other projects to do that. Exactly. So again, the engineer recommended against that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McClement, do you have any further questions?
Yeah, I think this is definitely in line with our strategic goal to get more access to the waterfront. It's known as the Somas Dike for the 40 years almost that I worked down at Somas, and it's finally been transferred to the Port Authority to use as a bit of a boardwalk and an access to a fuel dock out on the end of those blue pipes or whatever you call them, the floats out there. So I think that it's definitely worthwhile as trying to find the funds. If the gas tax isn't available, we could probably use the gas tax, as we have quite a bit of funds in that, as far as I can tell, on something else and transfer some money over, which would be a wash. So I would like to make the motion that we find the funds and go ahead with this project in time for the ICE-T refund.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion?
I'll second that. I got the mic.
And Councillor Washington, you had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'm a little surprised that they take on a project and come up $300,000 short. And I guess with nobody being here, I'm just wondering if the city manager will this be a showstopper to them if we don't contribute this money?
The Port Authority reports that they're on a tight timeline, and they apologize for imposing that tight timeline on the city. In order to be eligible for ICE-T funds, 25% back, they tell us they need to have this done in short order. So that's why this is a late item. Yeah, they just don't have the ability to wait on this. The project doesn't need to happen now, but they need to identify to ICE-T that the funding is in place is secure so they can access the grant funds.
And because of the tight timeline, there is, they need to get a response from the city, frankly, by the end of the month. Councillor Alberni and then Councillor Minions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a tough one because I see it certainly helping us in our strategic plan to achieve a vibrant waterfront and all of that, and I certainly support more boardwalks along the waterfront. But I have a real issue with the timelines that we're being forced to deal with, and the amount of money that's being asked for, sort of with no real strings attached. Especially if we're not doing the work ourselves, we're just sort of handing over the money. I have concerns about how much money is actually needed to build the boardwalk and run a sewer line out there. So I don't know. I have a lot of problems.
Councillor Minions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a fantastic project, and I've heard a lot of support in the community and excitement about it. So I'm glad it's being brought forward. I think I do support the project, although I agree with Councillor Alberni's concerns. It is unfortunate sort of how it came up and the time frame we've been put on. One thing I would like us as a council to focus on and discuss more once we know how this is going to go is the bigger picture with that area, how we're going to connect that area to the Harbour Quay, to the lighthouse. What's our plan for that area overall? And let's start working on that and put that into our plan in the next year or so as well, if we're going to move forward with this. Thank you.
I can answer that, but Councillor Sauvé, you have a question.
Thank you. I just wanted to voice my support for this. It's not often we have an opportunity of a partner to come into a project and to finally for a council to go forward into building a vibrant waterfront and beautification of Port Alberni, and this is the opportunity given. I know it's bad timing, but I would be afraid to lose the bus on this one. So I'm in full support of this, and we've been talking as council and past councils about doing something about the waterfront and so forth, and nothing's ever been really done with the exception of the Canal Beach and so forth. So I say let's get off the pot, and it's time for us to start acting. Thank you.
Councillor McClement and then Councillor Paulson.
Yeah, just, I kind of crashed the meeting. I asked Pat Deacon if I could go, and then I asked the mayor, and they both said I could. And I found that, I guess I get suspicious when someone wants money. That's kind of me. But when talking to them and looking at the maps and where the boardwalk would start is at the Fisherman's Wharf, and there's already walkways, even though it's not boardwalk walkways, it's sidewalks and et cetera from Harbour Quay all around there. So if that gets signed properly, this will be good. And also, there's already some businesses that want to set up down there. My personal first reaction was, this isn't the right place for that. We're businesses, I'd rather see them at Clutesy Haven, but we do have an RFPO for Clutesy Haven as well, and that's to be done under a different program. So I think that with the money that we do have from gas tax and et cetera, it can be moved around a bit to do things and something else, and we can transfer back over here. So I don't have a problem with doing it. I've seen the quote, and I think it's fair, so we should ask for some of that information coming to us as we go forward.
Councillor Paulson.
The other day while I was babysitting my grand dog, actually went down and found that piece of property and walked down. I didn't realize that it existed. I thought it was still Somax property. And as I walked along, I had this vision of all that scruff being cut down and a nice boardwalk. It just, if you have vision, I think it's an addition to the community. The price tag, there is sticker shock there, but also it's a minor price tag to the overall project. And I think the citizens of Port Alberni will all benefit from it at one time or other, and Port Alberni, the region, and also visitors. And I can just see shops and stuff down there selling fish and prawns, and It was a neat little walk. If you get a chance, go down and check it out. It's pretty rough right now. It's beat up old pavement and lots of brush, but if you have vision, you can see what it might bring to the community on the waterfront. So I'm in favor as well.
And Councillor Minions, just to respond to your not sure how it all connects, from the end of the east end of that boardwalk and across the parking lot directly towards the train station. So it will connect that way via the train station rather than hugging the water, and then go along past the train station and down into Harbor Key that way. So it's a bit circuitous, but on the other hand, it does tie in a city asset, being that train station and train and all the rest of that. So, Councillor McClellan?
And just one other comment, the McLean Mill has been asked to price the timbers and boards, and did try to get some community forest logs in according to the new policy, but I don't think we got very many big ones. There's going to be pretty big timbers in there that's going to go, and the cost for those alone is fairly high. It's not, I don't think it's going to be the big labor costs compared to what the timbers and so on will cost. It's not going to be cheap.
Okay, so then I believe everybody's had their chance to have their say. So on the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, at this point, I'll call for a 10-minute recess. We come back at 8:45. Okay, we're back to work here, council. We're on to informational correspondence. City Clerk, would you like to review that correspondence for council, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, only 2 items this time. First is a letter from the Minister of State announcing the release of Prepared and Resilient, a discussion paper on the legislative framework for emergency management in British Columbia, and advising that a consultation period will take place until February the 19th. And secondly, a report from the Ombudsperson providing a copy of files closed from October 1st to December 31st, 2015.
Thank you. Councillor McClement, do you want to move on that?
I move we receive and file information correspondence.
Seconder?
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we have a release from in-camera minutes from December 10th, 2015. We released the minutes. They're there. They're provided. And within 4 weeks, we will outline the process for implementation. And now we're on to Mayor's report. It's been a busy last couple. Sorry? We do. You're right. Thank you. Councillor Washington, would you like to make that motion?
We don't need a motion, Mr. Mayor.
No, these are released from in camera, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
So the minutes have already been adopted by council.
So we're good.
And they're just provided for public information.
You mean Councillor Washington made a mistake? Okay. I should have been on top of that. I'm sorry, Councillor Washington. Mayor's report. Council, I met with Randy Hanna, who is, and his wife, who's the owner of the new seaplane business, Pacific Seaplanes, and he's really excited about the business and the opportunities here in Port Alberni. In fact, he and his wife, after many decades living in Nanaimo, are quite excited about the possibility of moving to Port Alberni, and so is their son, who would like to fly for them. I also went to a fundraiser to help raise money for a cancer patient to help him with his travel expenses, and it was at the Pizza Factory. And then the next day I went to a fundraiser to help a different cancer patient. We were riding stationary bikes at the gym. It was an interesting way to spend an hour. And of course, as the same as council, I've been very busy with a series of budget presentations. We've gone through all of our departments in the last week. I also have attended a meeting about the Somas estuary and issues related to salmon and how activities, particularly as it pertains to our sewage project, how that could impact salmon, could impact the anoxic zone, and some other issues related to Somas, so to the water, the salmon in the Somas estuary. It's a very, very sensitive estuary, and we're getting a lot of good scientific data on that. We need to be able to pay attention to that. I attended the Vancouver Island Business Excellence Awards last week. 8 businesses from Port Alberni were honored and were in the final running, and one of them, Dave Kasegi Realty, received the award as the best realty in Vancouver Island for 2015. And then I attended an event with the city manager at Ocean Networks Canada, and they're wanting to establish a process for consultation with the community and finding a location for the placement of an observatory. I haven't heard the final results of that or where that observatory is going to be located, but it'll be somewhere within our area. And then yesterday I was at a meeting at Echo Center of the ACRD Agricultural Committee, and it was they sponsored a presentation about farmer information and connections and entrepreneurial opportunities. So it was a great way to spend an afternoon and sampling some really good local food. So council, that's my report, and I move acceptance of that report. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And now, Councillor McClellan, do you have a report from the regional district?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there's a regional district meeting on this coming Wednesday, which is a couple days away, but we also had one this morning, the Alberni Valley Committee. And out of that, we voted to recommend to the meeting on Wednesday to hire Tetra Tech, I believe the name is, just looking it up here, but it's close. And what they'll be doing is the engineering work and organizing all the contractors for the airport. We unfortunately also had some news that the government may not be giving us the grant we've been looking for, but I guess we should be getting used to that by now. The other thing that was brought up there was the Alberni Valley organics and concept of picking up yard waste and kitchen scraps. I understand some people are looking very quickly to get that, and so it's been basically referred to the city, looking at education, telling people not to do it, not to make this kind of garbage. I'm not sure how you get away with that if you don't have a compost bin. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens. It's probably going to be our thing to do. So other than that, that's about what we talked about this morning. I don't think there's anything else.
Okay. You want to
So I move acceptance of that report.
second it?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Too late. All those in favor? Carried. And councillors' reports. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like you say, budget meetings through all of last week, and only one good note, they're all good, but had an opportunity to have dinner at the St. Andrew's United Church last night for a fundraiser for those, and tried some new foods, and actually they were quite good. So that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Alberni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like Councillor Washington, the budget meetings last week were really the main focus, including attending, or at least viewing from work when I could, when I wasn't able to be here, and the live stream was great. So I think that'll be great moving forward. And then the only other one I wanted to mention, I went to Hugh Breaker, who's the chief of CSHOT. He has an art installation right now at Roland Art Center, and I went and saw that on Friday night, and I recommend everybody go check that out. He's displaying some really cool artifacts and gifts that he's accumulated over his travels. So recommend going out and check that out.
Thank you. And Councillor Minions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Busy with budget meetings as well. I attended the AGM for the library board. We had an in-depth presentation on the strategic plan and sort of the direction the library wants to go moving forward. So that was very interesting. And then this weekend I attended a meeting with our strategic planning session for Rainbow Gardens. It was a very beneficial process. Nice to get a strategic plan in process. And we had a very rewarding presentation by Ron Hamilton, a local First Nations artist, about First Nations culture and history, and a lot of local parts to it. So it was a great process.
Thank you. And Councillor Paulson.
Councillor Minions, I can't believe you left out the Youth Advisory Committee. We actually took the... No, I don't think so. We took the Youth Advisory Committee on the road this time, and we actually got together with Mr. Roberts' leadership class in the high school, and we had Councillor Minions gave an overview of the committee, and then we kind of had a roundtable discussion about pros and cons of things in our community, and once the youth got going on it, they were good. They were really good. Yeah, couldn't stop them. Part of the reason for going on the road is to see if we can garner more interest for more participation and find more members for the committee. We plan on going to VAST in February and hopefully doing the same forum. I did make notes, Davina, and I'll send you the notes from the school. Budget presentations, as all councillors were there. And also, on behalf of the mayor, I attended the Truck Loggers Association for the Thursday and Friday of the event. And for the uninitiated logger in me, it was a real eye-opener to, there's another piece of the puzzle that for me, from an education point of view, is the contractors to the owners and their relationships. And yeah, it was very rewarding, and I will also do up a report and submit that for the next council meeting, just as notes, so they can have those. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sauvé.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pretty much we had budget presentations and so forth, so I've been pretty busy with dissecting the reports and all that and working on that. Also, I just want to mention there's a call for volunteers at Echo Fur Park Village for bus drivers. So anybody out there that has, I believe it's their class 4, please apply within at Fur Park or Echo Village. Also, attended the Senior Advisory Committee. All went well. We had a good discussion with a representative of Better at Home Living, and speaking about the province engagement in dealing with seniors and so forth. Obviously, they started this pilot project several years ago, and it was very underfunded, so we're hoping to promote more funds throughout the province, but this is going to be action I'll be doing through council sooner or later. Attended the Regional District Office, the emergency planning, and big discussion and preparations being done for the upcoming coastal emergency exercises on June the 7th. And that's about it for me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor McClement.
Thank you very much. I guess I've been to all those budget things as well, and we have a report already on the McLean Mill committee that we've been working on. We have another meeting coming up on that, and we will be forming the board quickly so that we can get on and do some work this year and try to reduce that budget as much we can. I also worked with one of the local contractors came up with me, and one of the proposals from the McLean Mill committee was to look at putting in an RV park, a campground, which would be on a profit-making basis, and if that's possible, I'll be coming back to council with those kind of proposals.
Thank
and
you.
I'd move all these reports.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. New business from the Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities, concerning the AVICC resolutions. Councillor Alberni?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. These are just two resolutions that I thought just over the course of the year, and with the new federal government and with our air quality issues that we often have, these are two resolutions that I think we would benefit from bringing forward. This is just a motion to direct staff to put that together with the background information, and then it'll come back to council in time to be submitted to the AVICC.
Is it possible to come back by February 9th? Because I think there's a deadline. Am I correct, City Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe the deadline is the end of February.
Yeah.
So likely the next meeting, we would bring something back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I have lots of background on it. Just for the public that might not see, the one resolution is for a ban. Actually, I'll just bring it up here. It's to limit or ban burning on private and public forest lands inside community airsheds. So much like the actions that we've taken as a community and as a city to start to limit our outdoor burning, to try to encourage the province to have that on a much wider scale as well, from private companies. And the second one is for the Island Corridor Foundation, recognizing that they're funding that the city through the ACRD has contributed to over the past, I believe it was in 2010. It still hasn't been released. Maybe now that we have a new federal government, we can give them a little push and they will finally release that. So that's what that resolution will be about.
Okay, thank you. And this is a total segue, but you'll be happy to know that in terms of the regional district restricting the burning of wood debris at the airport today, there are some piles of wood from the clearing at the airport, and the motion was passed to have those piles ground rather than burned and then taken away for other use.
A perfect example.
It is, and it provides additional employment for somebody in the valley.
Yep.
Yes.
Can we have the direction to staff in the form of a motion so that we know that all of council are supportive of us preparing those resolutions?
We're just getting there.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Alberni, would you like to make that motion and also include in it that it be brought back for February 9th?
Yes, so
Please.
that Council for the City of Port Alberni directs staff to submit 2 resolutions to the AVICC and bring it back for the February 9th meeting as follows: petitioning the province to restrict wood debris pile burning by forest companies that impact air quality, and 2, petitioning the provincial and federal governments to release committed funding for the Island Railway corridor.
Is there a seconder? All those in favor? Opposed? Sorry, Councillor McClellan, you probably wanted to say something.
Well, the only comment I was going to make is when you find some real bad air, let me know. There's none around here.
All right.
I'm on the Air Quality Council now, so we'll see.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Alberni. This next item relates to Council's budget response to this point, and it's a direction to City Manager. City Manager, as Council, we're a bit concerned about the budget process so far in terms of how it's unfolded, and we'd like to essentially do a reset so that we can look at it from a different perspective. So what we'd like you to be able to do is to work with senior managers and come back to us with a budget proposal that reflects only increases in fixed costs, respects our collective agreement obligations, that there be no new positions, no new personnel positions inside the budget, and that projects be included in terms of a pick list, so that we can choose what any new proposals are out of a list that just makes it much easier for us, much more efficient. And sorry in terms of the truncated timeline, but we've tentatively put in a meeting to review this on Thursday of this week, so that would be January the 28th, Thursday afternoon, and I believe it's at 2:30. Be here in council chambers. Obviously, a public meeting is advertised, and hopefully we'll be able to televise that, and we'll just have an opportunity to go through and council choose those additional projects, assuming we can afford them. Councillor McClellan? I guess it would be good to have a motion. Yes, please, Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, I would move that Council City of Port Alberni direct staff to come back with the alternate budget that has just been mentioned by the mayor, and that we discuss it in a debate form, open to the public on January the 28th at 2:30 here, and somehow change these chairs so it's a proper debate. Thank you.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion, council? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Councillor McClement, I think you had one additional item.
I actually have a couple.
Okay.
First of all, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we do put up a thermometer to show what stage we are collecting money for a new water feature, a new pool, which isn't going to be a pool, but
An aquatic center, is that what you're
aquatic
referring to?
center or some such thing. We have names for them, and I'm sure we'll have our own later. But that's my motion, that we do put up a thermometer for that.
Okay, to advertise what it is that
Where we are and how we can, how far we got to go.
And would you like that thermometer at a particular place?
I think Echo Center is an excellent place.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion?
I'll second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion, council? I'm sure
We'll get that figure, and it's just a thermometer. If it costs a lot of money, I want to know why.
Yes, city manager.
If I could make a suggestion, I'm hearing that council's preparing to vote on a thermometer to demonstrate fundraising for a new aquatic center.
That's right.
And you may want to take input from staff on what the expected price of a aquatic center is, that sort of thing, and staff will be happy to provide some suggestions of where that would go and how that would work.
Excellent idea.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Minions?
Thank you, and thank you, City Manager. I think that's a great idea. It'd be nice to actually sit down and have a meeting. I know it's something we talked about doing last year, but the year got away from us. So it'd be nice to start that process. And if we're going to put up a thermometer that is going to get people excited for it, it'd be nice to make sure we're actually working on it as well, not just putting money away. So thank you.
Okay. We might also want to come up with a process or a plan by how we're going to work with the city in order to publicize this and why we're doing it and how we're doing it and opportunities for other groups to contribute and so on and so forth. Okay, anything else, council? On the motion then, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. And Councillor McClellan, you mentioned you had a few items?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that staff look into the cost and let us know what it will cost and how long it will take to purchase what is necessary for further flower stands and planters for Johnson Road.
Okay.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Wasn't there a cost within that, the budget presentation?
There was a cost, Mr. Mayor, but I wasn't sure it was accurate, and the last motion I made, people wanted to know the cost, so I changed this one from doing it to getting the cost and then doing it.
Okay.
So by the next meeting, we'll have it done and vote on it.
Okay. Councillor Alamani?
Can I just make a suggestion that we include a cost of whether we, if we could build them ourselves rather than actually buying it somewhere else? You know, can we make a form that would create a box cheaper than what we buy it for? So
If we can find a concrete person, we used to have a company in town that did it, but I'm not sure.
Councillor Sobe?
Yeah, pretty much this is just directing staff to get some estimates and costs. No commitment right away, it's just to get some estimate and cost. Thank you.
Okay, and I think I understand what Councillor McClement's getting at is that there's urgency of time, and certainly Jake Coline let us know there's urgency of time.
It takes several, I think if I recall correctly, they said 3 months to get them, so we got to start no later than the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion? Sorry, Councillor McClement, but City Clerk, could you just read back that motion for me, please? My memory's not as good as it was at 7 o'clock.
Mr. Mayor, the motion was that staff be directed to provide a report on the cost to purchase additional planters for Johnson Road.
Okay. So everybody understand the motion? All those in favor? Carried.
And I just have one more, Mr. Mayor. And I understand that on Monday coming, I think February the 1st, that yourself and our city manager will be in Vancouver discussing some legal matters regarding personnel and so on. And I understand also that Councillor Minions will be in Vancouver already, and I would like to make a motion that if we give her enough money to stay long enough to meet with you before she comes home. Cover the cost, I should word it that way.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Is that it, Councillor McClement?
Well, I just have one notice of motion, Mr. Mayor, and that is, I made one before and got the terms of reference for the Personnel Committee, and I'd like to make a motion that the Personnel Committee be involved in all hiring in the city, and that's just a notice to come up next time.
Thank you. So then, anything else, Council? Then, Councillor Paulson.
Once again, another notice of motion for next meeting, and I'd like to bring forward a motion with regards to kitchen and garden waste. Develop in 2016 a business plan moving forward, and explore options. I gather from tonight's regional district meeting that there's some glitches there, but I'd like to move forward on it. It is in our 2016 plan, so.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Council? Then this is our question period, an opportunity for public and press to ask questions of the Mayor and Council, in case there are any. Yes, please come forward to the mic, Freddie.
Freddie Hutter, Motion Drive. At the last council meeting, the city planner had been asked if he had a legal opinion on the legality of the proposed motion on the dispensaries, and he said he didn't. Yet at tonight's meeting, Councillor Minions suggested there was a legal opinion floating around. So I wanted to ask if that's going to be posted to your website.
Okay, I can't give you an answer to that right now, but I certainly can for next meeting.
Okay, because there was consideration of an injunction seeking prevention of the city from issuing licenses, and if there is a legal opinion floating around, that could probably be helpful to both sides. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson. Maybe that one there. I'm not sure if the one in the middle.
Neil Anderson, based on the same question I was going to ask, but it's a little different. The issue is decided here, and I have to say I'm a little bit element of relief here from the way it's dragged out. But it's still vibrant, and it's still going to be, I think we'll all be following it and what happens in the province over the next months or years. And Council Millions did say that you received that legal opinion. So I was wondering where I could get a copy. The last speaker wanted it posted, but I just want a copy. It's of real interest in just determining what lawyer has responded to the questions that you might have asked.
I think, Mr. Anderson and Freddie, normally a city would not actually post its legal opinion because that is considered to be client solicitor privilege, and normally they would be keeping that between us as their client and them as our solicitor. And I would think it would be difficult for them to continue making those opinions if we were going to be posting them for public. But I could be wrong.
Well, I'm not asking to post it.
I'll check into that and let you know at our next meeting.
Yeah, I'm not asking to be posted. And the city, am I not part of the city? The client, taxpayer, client privileges. So it is obtainable. Anyway, you can respond at the next meeting.
I'll respond at the next meeting.
But let's just put it out there. It's information for us all that's of interest. So let's not go dancing through the hoops again, please.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Alamani?
I was just going to bring up, I'm pretty sure in one of the reports from the city planner on our public agenda, he outlined in broad strokes the legal opinion that we had received. So it is in there. I think it was the December agenda. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's out there.
Obviously, we need to do a bit of research. Kat? I definitely do. You are very special, but holy cow.
I'm curious as to what the protocol for answering correspondence for action letters is. Out of the 4 that were provided here, only 1 doesn't have an action attached to it, and that's the letter from Roland Smith. So I'm curious.
The one for Roland Smith does have an action attached to it,
It
and
said
that is,
received.
we've received it,
Well, he.
and I announced that on February 9th, we will be releasing that report.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, a motion to adjourn, council, would be in order. Second, all in favor? We are adjourned.